Yeah, so idol worship. So it's possible to have an Ishtadeva, to have a particular idol that you love and to worship as a symbol of the divine. So when we look at an idol, it's not that it's the particular stone or wood or whatever the idol is made of that is important. It's the consciousness that it represents, that this is an ideal. An idol is an ideal. It's a form that gives expression to our awareness of our own consciousness. So if I have an idol, for example, of, let's say, Shiva, maybe the Shiva Nataraj, I'm not worshiping the particular form of the deity, but the consciousness that it represents. So the first stage is doing the external worship of the deity. The second is having the awareness that the deity and my own consciousness are not separate, and using this awareness to lead me to the experience of connecting with my own inner self. The altar is a symbol of that, and I use that symbol to direct me within and to recognize I am that. I'm not separate. Pran Pratishtha is an ancient practice here in India where a priest or a guru comes and actually instills the consciousness into the idol. So it's very different than just you go to a shop and you get a nice idol of your deity. It's something very different when it becomes prana pratishtha, meaning that universal consciousness comes to take residence in that idol, and that we can worship that idol and use it as a means to connect with the consciousness that resides within that idol. The idea of it not being separate. There's a form. The essence of that form is consciousness itself, and that consciousness and myself are not separate. There's simply one. So done properly, this can be a very powerful practice. In the Prana Pratishtha ceremony, it's really important that the one who does the installation is established in the state of consciousness of the chosen deity. In other words, whatever deity is chosen, this is a symbol of consciousness itself. And in order for that energy to be transmitted into the idol, the one who's doing the ceremony should be of that same consciousness. So it's really calling forth, invoking that consciousness to take residence in this particular place. And then the practice is to connect with the consciousness, with a great respect and sense of awe and a pure awareness. And by worshiping that consciousness, one can enter into that awareness. So my Baba had certainly the ability to install his consciousness into certain idols, and at the same time he would call certain Brahmin priests who specialized in that, in the enlivening. Think of it as a making conscious. So prana pratishtha means installing the chaitanya, making it chaitanya, making it conscious. And in truth, Shaivism says chaitanya matma, that everything is consciousness. So those beings who've realized the self have the ability to draw forth that awareness in this realm of form. And by us viewing it, by us coming into that relationship, we can awaken that same consciousness within ourselves. And this is what sadhana is. This is the practice of awakening the awareness of our own being. The self's already there. We're not creating a self. We're not drawing it to us. We're leading it forth in our experience. We're recognizing it. Typically, the word prana means life force. So think about the life within us. We can call it prana, we can call it atma, we can call it Shiva. It's that essence of life within us. Sometimes we use the term prana shakti, also called kundalini. So these are different ways of describing that primal energy. Shakti gives rise to life. The way that life is expressed is as breath. So long as there's breath in a creature, it's said to be alive. When the breath leaves the body, the consciousness also leaves the body. So we're just describing the same truth in different ways. So I think of prana as that aspect of the Atman that is dynamic. The prana moves and breathes. The traditional yogic scriptures describe this capital P prana as having 5 winds, 5 pranas, the prana, apana, vyana, samana, etc., yeah? So prana as the life force, as the shakti, as the energy that gives rise to our experience of life. So think about the Atman as the sun, and the rays that emit from the sun is the Shakti, is the prana, the life force. So at the level of Shiva Shakti, there's just one. There's awareness and the awareness of awareness. So there's being and the consciousness of that. The Atman is the same. The Atman is that same consciousness, but in a particularized form, as a drop in the ocean. Think of universal consciousness as the vast, infinite ocean, and the Atman is the particularized form, the drop that's in the ocean, but is part of the ocean. So we use the analogy of the sun and its rays. If we could use that as a metaphor, as an analogy, but have the awareness that they're inseparable. The self, the Atman, and the rays from it, the Shakti, are one and the same. They're not separate. We repeat mantras. We chant mantras. So these are physical. We can actually speak them. We can create vaikari, create sound. More subtle than that are the mental mantras. We can repeat the mantra Om Namah Shivaya mentally before it actually takes form. More subtle than that, and we'll call that, by the way, we'll call that madhyama level of speech. More subtle than that is patsyanti. These are the primal sounds that give rise to the letters of the alphabet. More subtle than that is the pure awareness of being. So we can exist, the light exists. The truth of our own being is that we are light. But this is a conscious light. It's aware of its own existence. And the essence, the true mantra, is the awareness of our own being. It's the pulsation, the throb, the movement, as it were, of the awareness, I am. So I can exist, but I can be unaware that I exist. The awareness of pure being is the true mantra. And that's the goal of all the different mantras. We can say Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. We can say Om Namah Shivaya. We can say Aham Brahmasmi. And these mantras, have the power to turn us within to the subtler dimensions. So we have a physical reality, a subtle reality, a causal reality, that the ultimate reality is being itself and awareness of that being. This is the true mantra, and it's the goal of all the different mantras. We can repeat them externally, but the real purpose is to turn us within. It's like a homing device. It's the sound of the inner vibration of our own consciousness. So it takes us from our awareness of the external world, makes us aware of the inner world, and ultimately the source of our own being, which is supreme consciousness. Yes. To make a long story short, yes, that it's our own consciousness that determines our experience. So a realized being is going to see consciousness everywhere. It's going to experience consciousness in a particular deity in a temple. It's going to experience that same consciousness in everyone and everything. This is why it's so important to be able to spend time with these great beings. That if you've ever had the experience of sitting in the presence of one who sees you as divine, it's tremendously uplifting. So that the world is as we see it, and these great beings see everything as consciousness, which includes you and me. They look at us and see us with great love as the form of Shiva, the form of Krishna, standing before him or her. And that vision can transform our lives. This is why we go to gurus and to great saints, to be in their darshan. Darshan means to see. So I see the guru, but just as importantly, the guru, the enlightened one, sees me and elevates me into the awareness of the consciousness they share with the one. So when we go to a temple, it's our own consciousness that determines our experience of it. It's not something external to us, that the world is as we see it. If we see God in that idol, we'll experience our own divinity. If we don't, then we won't. That would be one way of saying it. And that's not to say that there are holy places. We've all been to different temples and been to different deities and could feel the divine presence there. So it may have been that a great being was there and did pranapratishtha. It could also be that over periods of time, thousands of worshippers have come with great feelings of love and devotion and contributed their Shakti to it. Years ago, I was in Los Angeles and I went to a museum, the Getty Museum in Santa Monica, California. I was with my dear friend Swami Shankarananda. And at this particular museum, they had a display of Indian art, sculptures, paintings, old ancient things. And both of us simultaneously were drawn to this one particular form. It was a goddess, and it was beautiful. It wasn't more beautiful than other forms, but it was nice. We were attracted to it. And at the same time, both of us felt the urge to put our heads on the feet of the goddess. So we went and pranamed, and we went to put our head on the feet, and noticed the feet were completely worn away from centuries and centuries of people feeling that energy, feeling the Shakti, the divine presence in that particular deity. So I firmly believe that worshippers can have a tremendous impact on the object of worship. So let's talk about the spiritual power. This is actually from the Shiva Sutras, where it talks about the essence of a mantra is not so much in the syllables of the mantra, meaning the sound vibrations that we repeat at an external level or even mentally, but the true power of the mantra is the vibration of consciousness itself. That the highest mantra is the awareness, I am. Not the words I am, not the mantra aham, not any particular sound. This is nameless, formless, beyond the beyond, the simple awareness of being itself, being aware of our own inner consciousness. And this is the true power of mantra. This is what gives mantra life. It's the source of all mantra, and it's also the goal, bringing us back to the awareness of our own being, back to the awareness, I am. You know, in the ancient Hebrew Bible, there's a moment where Moses is having an experience of the burning bush, and he has a real sense of the presence of the divine. He's experiencing God directly. And Moses asks the Supreme Being, God, what's your name? What shall I call you? And that consciousness says, I am that I am. I am that I am. So it's the awareness of being, the awareness of our own consciousness, which is the power that manifests this universe. So what's the easy path? What's the fastest, quickest, easiest way to get to the self? There's no one answer to that. The answer for me is that what's easiest for you? Some of us have strong emotional components for us. We have a capacity to love. So the path of bhakti may be the way to go for us. We love God, we love people, we love chanting mantras, we enjoy kirtan. So this is one path. Others maybe are more in tune with their intellect, have a refined buddhi, and can find studying the scriptures, contemplating the meaning of the scriptures, going into meditation, contemplating these big ideas as an easy path. This is the path of jnana yoga. Some people find it's more effective to live in the world and work and raise a family and have a career, but to do it with the right understanding. This is the path of karma yoga, where we learn through work and through practice, using the physical body and in service, we learn to serve selflessly, to center ourselves in our own inner consciousness, and to work without fear, without frenzy, skill in action, doing our best, accepting the results. So this is a complete path. When I was living in the ashram with my guru, I noticed that there were very distinct sadhanas that people did. Some people worked in the kitchen from 3 a.m. till 8 p.m. and did their service. Others worked on construction, building the ashram, building really all the buildings that we lived in. Their path was karma yoga. Others studied the scriptures, ended up teaching. Some chanted mantras and meditation. That's actually the fourth of these paths, is the path of meditation. Now, my own guru taught all 4 of these paths. And so each of us were drawn by our own dharma, by our own inner natural inklings to give preference to one of these over another. My own case was I had a nice balance of all 4 of these different types of yoga. So what is easiest? What's natural for you? If you're an emotional person and have great feeling, path of bhakti. If you're a person of action, karma yoga. If you're a good meditator and have the ability to quiet the mind, meditation. If you're a great lover, love God, love everyone, this is the path of bhakti. Let me talk about karma yoga. Karma means action, means doing things. Becomes karma yoga when we learn how to perform our actions in such a way that it leads to the knowledge of the self. So there are various components to it. I happen to have a more of a devotional nature. So what I like to do is each day that I get up, as I meditate, I choose to offer the fruits of my action to the Supreme Being. In my case, I offer to my Ishtadevata, which is my my guru, my teacher. So the first aspect of karma yoga is detachment from the fruits, offering the fruits to the Supreme Being. Then we learn to do sadhana as we do our work. We learn to do skill in action. We need to be good at what we do. And in order to be good at what we do, we need to be able to focus the mind, make it one-pointed. When I first met my guru, and I got Shaktipat, awakening, I had just amazing experiences of meditation. I just loved to meditate all the time. When I wasn't meditating, I liked to chant and take the courses, and I was really in bliss. At a certain point, my guru said, I want you to work in the kitchen. That was the last thing I wanted to hear, because working in the kitchen, cooking for 1,000 people was a big job. We would get up at 3 a.m, chop vegetables for breakfast. My job was chopping the onions and the garlic at 3:30 in the morning. We would chop after breakfast, preparing for lunch, chop in the afternoon, preparing for dinner. It was full time. There was no chance for meditation or learning scriptures or any sort of thing. So I was a little resistant to this. My guru had instructed me, do this work. This is what I want you to do. Time went by, I wasn't really very good at it. I was chopping the vegetables, and one day my guru came in and we were chopping cucumbers. And he looked at me and could tell I wasn't really focused on what I was doing. He took the cucumber out of my hand and took this really sharp knife and went like that. It was in an instant he was done. He chopped the cucumber very fine, small pieces, faster than I'd ever seen anyone chop before. I couldn't believe it, actually. And he looked at me, he said, count those pieces. There's 30 pieces there. I said, okay. So I counted the pieces, and there were only 27. So I was in a little bit of a dilemma. Do I tell him the truth? Which I didn't want to blow his cover. There was only 27, but I decided I wanted to tell the truth. So I said, Baba, there's only 27 pieces there. He laughed. He said, turn the knife over. Turn the knife over. 3 pieces, exactly 30. And then he looked at me right in the eye and he said, this is meditation. I want you to learn to chop vegetables like that. One-pointed focus. Nothing else exists. Just chop vegetables. So this was my instruction from the guru. This became my meditation. I devoted myself to learning how to chop with that sort of skill and that sort of one-pointed awareness. Months and months went by. I continued to chop every day. One day we were chopping bananas. I had a whole team. I'd actually progressed in my ability to chop, and then a whole team of people peeling the bananas, and I was chopping. And as I was chopping, totally present in the moment, I felt this rush of joy. I was in bliss. It was as if time stood still. My body was moving maybe at the speed of light, but everything was in slow motion. I was in this extraordinary state of ecstasy, surrounded by light. And all those experiences I had in meditation really paled in comparison to what was happening as I was chopping these bananas. And in that moment, and in that awareness, there was a knock at the door, and it was my Baba. He poked his head in and through his translator said, your time here in the kitchen is complete. I want you to go and teach now and become my master of ceremonies in the evening program. So this is the way I learned meditation, through karma yoga. Yoga is skill in action, learning to focus the mind, making it one-pointed in whatever your field is. So in karma yoga, we learn to do our sadhana in the world, raising a family, having a job, having a career, paying bills. All those sorts of things become the vehicle for the recognition of the self. So we work without fear, without frenzy, totally present in the moment with a one-pointed focus in our awareness, And this can lead to the direct experience of our own self. So in the Gita, Krishna talks about that, says that one should work without fear, without frenzy, centered in the self, and offer the fruits of our action to our Ishtadevata. And this is the core, the essence of karma yoga.